Alrighty guys, it's Sunstrider here and welcome to something I haven't done in a while. It's another mod concept video. This time, as you can see, we're doing something with Phoenix Point here. Now, I know in the past I haven't been exactly the biggest fan of Phoenix Point because it's a glitchy, buggy mess. Right, I know there's a new, new DLC out for it. I haven't even looked into it yet. Because, first impressions haven't been that great. Now, I have no idea how amazing or how mediocre the new Phoenix Point DLC is. Maybe I'll try it sometime in the future, but that's not the point. The point is that the whole RNG-ness of how the Pandoran mutate and evolve throughout the course of the game is still pretty interesting at the end of the day. And I'm gonna be honest, it'd be kind of cool to see that kind of RNG mutation in something like Xcom. I have no idea if RNG for specific individual enemies would work, right? I have no idea if that would work. Like, if you could individually change what each individual unit had, like what benefits they had based around a percentage. Now, there's still going to be a flat increase in the base stats. Right, the way I have this set up is that each individual Pandoran unit taken from Phoenix Point will have, one or two tiers, right, to kind of fall in suit with Advent and Xcom, because this is going to be a Raider faction, right? They're going to have 3 separate tiers, and each 3 tiers is going to have their base stats and then their possible mutations, if this is even possible, right? And each mutation is going to give a certain benefit, attack, ability, whatever. Right? And within the base stats, there's a max amount of mutations that it can pick from the mutation pool that I kind of created for them. Now, they're not going to be exact carbon copies of the Phoenix Point variants, because I also molded my own Phoenix Point Pandora virus mechanic, right, where the virus will infect and change based on if it's a human at Advent, and it will not really change between those 3. It'll change between normal combat units and civilians and Psy zombies, and even Lost, right? So Xcom, Advent, and aliens are going to be infected one way. Psy zombies, unlucky civilians, and Lost are going to be in a separate thing, are going to have their own interaction with the virus as well. Right? Okay, so now that I got the base thing done, for those of you who do not play Phoenix Point, let me take that away for a minute. And no, it's not the pandas from World of Warcraft. The pandas from World of Warcraft are also called Pandoran. Pandoria, whatever. Right? For those of you who have never played Phoenix Point or have seen Phoenix Point before, essentially the Pandora virus is a very hostile virus that forces humans to jump or crawl and yeet themselves into the sea, and then it mutates with sea life to create these weird alien forms, kind of like something out of SCP. Right? So Phoenix Point, of course, is not without its flaws. I'm not sure if it can even be coded in the first place, much less coded right. Pandoran units from PC with an RNG style spawn, right, they're still going to have flat increases as the game progresses into the late game and the force level increases, but every single enemy is going to have a chance to be completely different than his buddies. The Pandora virus mechanic is also going to play a big role, you know, infecting Advent, Alien, Xcoms, whatever, size zombies, civilians, and Lost, and all that stuff. Because, you know, Raider factions. I'm a huge fan of Raider factions. Alright, so this is where things get a little bit tricky and kind of wonky to understand. The Pandora virus mechanic is going to work on a turn-based infection process. Alright, the first contact for XCOM, Aliens, and Advent, I said that in different order, but whatever. XCOM, Advent, and Aliens, the first contact is going to be the virus starts attacking the immune system, body can't fight back, victim is disorientated, takes 2 to 3 damage per turn over 2 turns. If not healed within these 2 turns, the victim advances to stage 2. Taking root, the virus and starts attacking the brain and organ function. As those functions are slowly shut off, the victim is stunned for 2 turns, the dot wears off, and if not healed, the victim drops dead. Right, so it essentially takes 4 full turns to completely infect whatever the hell it's attacking. And then after the victim dies, the virus takes control over brains, nerves, and muscles. And then on the next Pandoran turn after they die, right, you know, the next Pandoran turn, the turn after they die, if the Pandoran turn is next, then then it'll rise. You get what I mean, right? On the next Pandoran turn, however long that takes, the next Pandoran turn, the victim is resurrected, keeping the same weapon stats and abilities as the original. No known cure to the virus. There's no saving the victim at this stage of the infection. So it's kind of like if a soldier gets shadowbound, but once it happens, there's no going back. They're screwed. They're lost. You have to take them out. Right? So, you know, whenever Pandoran set rep occurs, bring specialists and medkits. Right, and then lost zombies and civilians, the first contact, because these targets are weaker than the combat units, the virus takes control faster. It only takes 2 full turns to control the 2 full turns to control weaker targets compared to 4. Victim takes 3 to 4 damage per turn. After 2 turns, the victim drops dead. So it's kind of like the virus, upon infection, it kind of reads the genetic data and kind of processes the functionality and the capabilities of whatever it's infecting. And if it's not strong, like a gruff, grizzled, trained XCOM soldier or a genetically perfected alien or advent trooper, then it goes like, okay, this is clearly not a combat unit, but I have a process, but I still have a use and a process for them. Right? Since these units are weaker than combat units, the virus knows it should not be used for combat. However, the body can still be used as a collection pit and transportation unit for the virus. The virus multiplies quickly, and the heart is restarted to get it all pumping. After the body is resurrected, it rushes to the nearest organic target, attempting to infect them, starting the process anew. Right? So it's essentially like a plague-bearing Psy zombie that has very deadly virus/poison-based attacks that can start the process anew, right? And as a side note, killing the infected target only speeds up the infection. They must be healed early on in the infection to cure them. So they have to be healed during any of the... So your soldiers or Advent soldiers or aliens have to be healed during the first 2 stages, or else they're screwed. And they essentially forcefully join the Pandoran and the Pandoran virus on that mission. Right? Obviously, being a virus, an organic-based virus, it can't affect machines. So you could, I don't know, build a whole squad of Sparks and give the virus the middle finger and go off your merry little way. Right? Or, considering that Pandora virus is kind of like a poison, like vanilla poison, I'm thinking that people in hazmat vests, or soldiers in hazmat vests, psionic soldiers who have Fortress, or Advent psionic troopers who have Fortress, or Advent Troopers during the Advent Sealed Armor Dark event will all be immune. Right, they'll be immune for the virus. They'll still take any damage from virus-based weapons, but they won't get the added virus effect. So again, to recap, right? XCOM Advent and Aliens, 4 turns. Lost Psy Zombies and Civilians, 2 turns. They must be healed early on, or they're gone. They're goners. And anything that's psionically reinforced with Fortress, anything that has a hazmat vest, or anything under the effect of Advent Sealed Armor will not be affected. So there are counters to it, minus medkits. Right? And I don't think simply carrying a medkit should make you immune like it does for poison. Simply carrying a medkit means you can react to the virus, but you're not immune to it completely by just having a medkit. Alright, so moving on, we got some units. So the simplest form of unit in the Pandoran arsenal is of course the Plague Bearers that are once again come from this side of the virus spectrum. Right, you know, they have 10 HP, no armor, 75 aim, dodge and defense is 0. The will doesn't matter because they're undead. Their mobility is 18, and their loadout are claws and virus-filled bodies. They have a virus slash, which is charged the nearest organic target, and while the slash of the attack hits, the virus cells are flooded into the open wound, infecting the target. It does low damage, but of course infects them with the Pandora virus. And virus death upon dying, the body explodes into a shower of infected blood and guts and 4 tile radius from the body. Those caught without protective armor or psionic reinforcement, I forgot to add that, are infected as the blood is absorbed through unprotected skin. 2 to 4 damage, but again, they are infected with the Pandoran virus. Of course, organic units only. Robots, obviously, don't have to worry about, you know, viruses and stuff, because they're robots. Alright, worms. Now the worms... The worms will pose a bigger thing in the future, right? They're introduced here. They'll be more elaborated on later. But worms are obviously these tiny little slug creatures that are essentially just mobile organic bombs. Low HP, only 5. The range doesn't matter because their only attack is exploding. Alright, no armor, 50 will. I don't know why you would mind control this thing anyway. I was kind of tempted to make this immune to psi bullshit. But hey, you don't want to mind control a worm? I don't fucking know. Mobility 20, and dodge and defense is 0. And the worms can be headshot like Lost, making large groups of them easier to control. Again, will be elaborated on later on. And the mutations is fire, acid, poison, and virus. Which essentially, when they explode, they do low amount of damage and do whatever environmental effect that is in the name. Fire obviously explodes in a fireball, acid explodes in a pool of acid, poison explodes in a cloud of poison, and virus explodes in infected blood. Very straightforward. Mindfraggers are essentially mind-controlling facehuggers from Half-Life. They have low HP, only 8. No aim because their mind frag is always a guaranteed thing. Their armor is 0, the will is 65, their dodge is 10, defense is 0, and mobility is 20. Their skills are mind frag, which they rush an organic and launches its head at them, releases toxins that smell the brain and take poisoning control, permanent control. However, the Mindfragger can be removed by having a squad mate pull it off from an adjacent tile, kind of like reviving a dazed soldier from a chosen attack. Just walk up to a tile next to them, and essentially what the soldier will do is rip off the Mindfragger, throw it on the ground, and stomp on it, kind of thing. It doesn't have to be any elaborate animation, but that's just that's the gist of it. Alright, very simple. And no, they don't need an exosuit or a war suit or any kind of fancy armor like they do in Phoenix Point. I wouldn't be that mean. Right, now the Arthron are these crab things. They look like walking crab monsters. I don't know. I should have added screenshots here, but I didn't. Yeah, the basic Arthron, whatever the fuck are you pronouncing them. They have their base stats here is HP 15, 1 armor, 65 aim, 13 mobility, no dodge, no defense, 65 will, and max mutations is 0. They can't take cover. And the possible mutations are organic chain gun, plus 10 aim, light 'em up ability, does not require ammunition, 4 to 5 damage, stretch 1 armor. Organic grenade launcher, same stats as Xcom frag grenades, minus 2 mobility, costs 1 action to fire, requires 1 turn to regenerate after each shot. They could have a hard shell shield, which grants plus 5 HP, plus 1 armor, and plus 10 defense, but minus 3 mobility. They can have a pincer, which is essentially a melee weapon, grants 3 mobility, and the momentum ability, which means they can move. They gain a single kind of scamper move, a single yellow move after attacking something. And then they can also get a carapace armor, which is 10 HP, 2 armor, blast padding ability, but minus 3 mobility. Right? You know, and I really tried to balance it out a little bit, like the heavier stuff, like the grenade launcher, the shield, and the carapace armor would obviously weigh the crab thing down and to make it a little bit harder to move around. Oh, the chain gun and the pincher are lighter. The chain gun would obviously need a little bit more aim to fire effectively, and the pincher would be lighter than anything else, so it would grant mobility. Right, and all of these, you know, they can have up to 2, so they can have a chain gun and a pincher, or carapace armor and a grenade launcher, or a shield and a pincer, whatever. Whatever RNG decides, and they would affect the base stats and give them some extra abilities, depends on what the hell they got, abilities and attacks. Alright, chain gun obviously grants a fire weapon ability. Grenade launcher would give like a fire grenade, launch grenade ability. The shield is just kind of there, you know, it's a visual difference, grants some HP, some armor, a little bit of defense. Takes away some of the mobility because there's a big clunky shield. The pincer would grant something like the slash ability, same as like a ranger sword. You know, give a little bit of mobility and allows them to move after making an attack. Carapace armor, blast padding ability, a little bit of resistance against explosive damage, some HP, some armor. Again, minus mobility because it weighs it down. That kind of thing, you know. And then we have the Tritons, which I don't even know what fucking sea creature they come from. But their base stats is 15 HP, 0 armor, 70 aim, 60 mobility, dodge, 10 defense, 0, will 70. They can have up to 2 mutations, but 1 weapon. Alright, and the weapons are obviously a shotgun or an assault rifle, and the mutations are these 3 things. Alright, so the mutations and weapons are regen glands, which releases powerful healing, pain-killing stimulants that regenerate 3 HP per turn. Reactive mist glands, where upon being exposed to pain, the glands produce a dense mist 3 tiles away from the alien crab thing, octopus thing, I don't know. Units in mist gain plus 20 defense. And reactive stealth glands, where upon being exposed to pains, these glands release a substance that binds with alien skin, and the thing receives concealment upon taking damage. It is revealed when taking a shot or flanked, as concealment works, and it also gains a single scamper action. Alright, so it's kind of like the chrysalid chameleons from the Hive mod. Fuck those things. Instead, these things get weapons. You can get a shotgun, which is the same as the Xcom variant, and it gains the running gun ability. AI kind of seemed to be not great with the running gun ability, as seen in some of the other Raider factions and the Mox mods. But hey, whatever, running gun, shotgun makes sense. Assault rifle wears the same as the XCOM variant and provides the light 'em up ability. And that's, like I said, they all add abilities and adjust some of the base stats as seen here. Now we go to tier 2 Pandoran units, where it's the tier 2 Arthrons, which are a better crab. They have a bit more HP. They have 20 HP, 2 base armor, 80 base aim, 16 base mobility, dodge and defense 0, 80 base will, and they can have 3 mutations instead of 2. They have an organic heavy chain gun, which does 5 to 7 damage, which is, I'm pretty sure, the same as XCOM Meg weapons. Could be wrong. Plus 10 aim, infinite ammo, provides the light 'em up and shredder ability. So on top of having the light 'em up ability as last time, they also have the shredder ability, which of course they destroy enemy armor on successful hits. An organic grenade launcher, which is upgraded to plasma grenades, minus 2 mobility, and 1 turn to regenerate after each shot. The virus pincher, which does less damage, still gives plus 3 mobility, but infected organic targets are infected with the Pandora virus on successful hits, which the Pandora virus, of course, was explained earlier. Right? Poison glands, which provides a poison spit on par with the vanilla vipers. So it's like an AoE poison spit that affects organic targets with vanilla poison, not the Pandora virus, just vanilla poison. Right? And you know, it's the same as vipers, right? We all know what vipers do. And they gain a heavier shield, which is plus 1 armor, plus 3 HP, plus 7 ablative HP. And ablative HP is kind of like shield bearer shields added on top of your existing HP. And minus 4 mobility, because it's a heavier shield. Heavy Carapace, which is plus 3 armor, plus 5 HP, minus 5 mobility, and again provides the blast padding ability. So yeah, a little bit beefier. Mutations here, and they can get up to 3, which makes them a little bit more dangerous. You can have the tier 2 Tritons, which is pretty much the beefier scouts. They have 20 base HP, 0 base armor, 80 base aim, 90 base will, 15 base dodge, and no defense, 20 mobility, base mobility, max mutations 3, max weapons 1, and the weapons are a little bit changed up here. I just realized that there are 3 mutations here, and max mutations are 3. Might want to change that back down to 2. Right, just because there's 3 mutations here. Right, but regen glands, which has been buffed to 5 HP per turn, mist glands, which are buffed to plus 30 defense, stealth glands, which have been changed from the tier 1. They get a Meg pistol, which is the same as the Advent variant and provides a fanfire ability. Meg rifle, which is the same as the Advent ability, which adds Guardian and Cool Under Pressure abilities. So they get some Overwatchy abilities. And a sniper rifle, which is the same as the XCOM variant and provides squad sight, of course, because it's a sniper rifle. And they still only have 1 weapon. They have more weapons to choose from and the same kind of mutations, which is why I dumbed it back down to 2, because if they had 3 max mutations, they just get all 3 mutations every single time. That kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway, Siren, which are these psionic viper-y looking things. Okay, base stats is 20 HP, 1 base armor, 80 base aim, 80 base will, 10 base dodge, 0 base defense, 19 base mobility, and 3 mutations out of 4. Right, they got virus pincers, 2 to 4 damage, cost 1 action to use, but organic units are infected by the Pandora virus. And it says cost 1 action to use, because it would probably be something more like attacks an adjacent target with a slash from the pincers and not rush an enemy and then slash, right? Because only costing 1 action to use a movement-based melee attack would be a little bit insane. Right, psionic implants plus 30 will provides the insanity and stasis abilities, which we all know what those do. Poison glance provides a poison spit on par with vanilla vipers, just like the tier 2 crab thing. Carapace armor, which provides plus 2 armor, plus 5 HP, and minus 5 mobility. Now, I'm pretty sure they don't get the Carapace armor in Phoenix Point. Like I said, I changed things a little bit around to fit more the theme of the RNG-based mutations stuff. And just because I thought it would be cool. You know, it's not perfect, but I already warned you guys I would change a few things, so shut up. And their Triton thing, which is worm artillery, and this is where the worms really start to show and shine. 40 base HP, 4 armor. Aim doesn't matter because it doesn't have a lot of aim. It doesn't have any aim-based abilities. The mobility's kind of shit though. 9 base mobility. Will doesn't matter. They're immune to psi bullshit. 0 dodge, but 15 base defense. Max mutations, 1 worm type and 1 other. And the base abilities, they always have a smash ability, which is they slam the ground, dealing 2 to 4 damage to anyone 3 tiles away from the thing. 1 turn cooldown. That's kind of, at least so they have some sort of self-defense on the battlefield, and they're not just launching worms everywhere as people are swarming it with shotguns and swords and stuff. Alright, you know, I've already talked about the different worm types. Essentially, each separate worm type is just launches 6 of the specific worm, the target area on a 2-turn cooldown. But the multi-worm is launches 2 of each worm at the target area. But the counter to this is they can be headshot like Lost, and they'd be kind of easy to hit. So you wouldn't have to worry about super large groups as long as you're picking off any close worms before moving on to any other enemies on the map. Then they can either have a military mobility exoskeleton, which gives them plus 10 mobility but minus 5 HP, right? Because, you know, they want to move faster, so they give up a little bit of their natural defense, their already built up stuff, right? They essentially shed a little bit of their exoskeleton for some mobility, which of course makes them a little bit more susceptible to damage. Maybe minus 2 armor as well. I've been debating, you know, minus 2 armor as well, just to kind of further prove that point. And they can either have an armored exoskeleton, which they add more to their exoskeleton, which is plus 10 HP, plus 2 more armor, so they get 6 armor, but they lose a lot of their mobility, so they're essentially staying way in the back. Like, they can't move at all. They only have like 6 mobility, so they have shit for movement. So if you do try to swarm it, you shred the armor with like shredder or grenades and stuff, and you just go in with like shotgun rapid fire or you know, a fusion blade. It would be pretty easy because it wouldn't be able to run away, and because the worms are a fucking range-based thing. It's not like they can launch worms at your face. The slam is something to take note, but it only deals 2 to 4 damage. Doesn't disorientate, doesn't stun, doesn't knock unconscious. It just does a little bit of damage to try to knock away any threats. Like if it gets surrounded by Lost or something, you can just slam and they're all dead, because Lost are pretty weak. And the tier 3 Pandoran units, which is where things get a little bit insane, which is the Arthrons, which is the best crab. 25 base HP, 2 base armor, 80 base aim, 80 base will, no dodge or defense, 16 base mobility, and they can have 3 out of any of these mutations. You have a virus chain gun, which does very little damage compared to the other chain guns, but organic units are infected by the Pandora virus. Organic grenade launchers, which is just more plasma grenades in one turn to regenerate between shots. Nothing different there. However, it doesn't have any downsides to it, right? They kind of get over the mobility downside to it, and they learn to just tough it out and keep going. The virus pincher, which does little damage, 3 mobility, and successful attacks against organics are infected with the virus. They have a reflective shield, which is +2 armor, +5 HP, -5 mobility, but direct projectile attacks are reflected back at the attacker with a -50 aim penalty, right? So reflected back at them with 80 -50, that's... I know maths! I know maths! I know maths! Okay, so they reflect it back at the attacker with only 30 HP. Combine that with, like, high cover, and you don't have to worry about it, essentially. Right, but it's only direct projectile attacks, no grenades, no AoE, no psionic attacks. It's essentially taking a standard shot at it, or like a light 'em up shot or whatever. Just a normal shot from your gun, and it attempts to be reflected back at you. Nothing else. Just shooting directly at it. Have I made my point clear? Ugh. And of course, heavy carapace, 3 armor, 5 HP, -5 mobility, and again, blast padding. Tier 3 Tritons, which is the Omega Scout. 20 base armor. 20 base armor, yikes! 20 base HP, 1 base armor, 80 base aim, 17 base mobility, 15 dodge, 0 defense, 3 mutations, and 1 weapon. Alright, so regen glands, 5 HP per turn, mist glands, 30 defense, stealth glands doesn't change. Virus reflex, this is more an ability than a mutation, but it still counts as a mutation. It's better than anyone who enters melee range. Organic targets hit suffer from the Pandora virus. Does no base damage, but the Pandora virus is enough to deal with already. Mag rifle with virus rounds, 3 to 5 damage, virus effect on organics. Mag sniper, same as Xcom variants. Mag pistol with virus rounds, 1 to 2 damage, virus effect on organics. Tier 2 Siren, she calls for you. I only said that because of the altered voice pack mutation, but we'll get there. 20 base HP, 2 base armor, 80 base aim, 80 base will, 20 base mobility, 10 dodge, no defense, and 3 mutations out of all of this. Alright, altered void packs, psionic scream ability, 50% chance to panic all enemies in non-squad sight visual range, which is essentially Faithbreaker from the Berserker Queen. It's exactly the same as psionic as Faithbreaker, but non-squad sight visual range, so she has to see everybody. It's not just pretending to see everybody. Virus glance provides a single target spit that affects organics hit with the Pandora virus. No damage, but again, the virus. Psionic implants, a +50 will, provides insanity, domination, station, sustain, and soulfire abilities. Sustain, of course, just for you, Dureva, looking out for you. Combat implants, 10 aim, 5 dodge, and 20 will, provides the lightning reflexes ability. We all know what that does. Virus pincers, 2 to 4 damage, 3 mobility, and virus effect on organics. And carapace armor, +2 armor, +5 HP, -5 mobility. And the Scylla thing, which is a big bad boss, which is essentially the boss of the Pandora. Normally they only appear at Pandoran Lair, Pandoran Citadel things, as like the boss of a Pandoran Citadel. Obviously we can't have Pandoran Citadels in XCOM 2 unless somebody is really talented and can do that. That'd be amazing. But no, it's just like a really rare Pandora spawn, essentially. Alright, so base stats is 50 HP, 3 armor, 200 will, 9 mobility, dodge defense is 0, and max mutation/abilities. Only 3 out of all of this. Right, Mindfragger egg sac allows the Scylla to birth 1 Mindfragger per turn. Passively triggers at the start of each Pandoran turn but uses 1 action point. Virus Sac provides a projectile attack that covers a 4-tile area. Organics caught in the blast will walk through the puddle or infected by the virus. Puddle expires after 3 turns to put on a 3-turn cooldown. Citadel Scream, a form of communication to an underground Pandoran citadel. 4 random Pandoran units burrow up from the ground in random locations. Reinforcing units gaining a single scamper move 3-turn cooldown, which is essentially a reinforcements spawn. Reactive Mist Glands, which is same as the Triton thing, and 4 tiles around the giant Scylla boss gain 30 defense. A Slam ability, which slams the ground within 4 tiles, take 8 damage, 50% to disorientate, 2-turn cooldown, and 6th Sense. Scylla starts with 3 action points. This is essentially a counter to the 1 action point used from this, but that's only if these 2 get chosen. If you know, like this one and this one get chosen, then obviously she won't have the 3 action points. And we got some mission sit reps and some dank events. Mission Overrun Facility Advent Facility mission. This facility has been taken over by the Pandoran, but still poses a threat to humanity. We should destroy it before it attracts the attention of a Scylla Queen. Objectives: kill all Pandoran units, launch a flare on the roof of the facility so Firebrand can perform a napalm strike. Because the Pandoran virus kind of mutates things in a organic kind of way and grows out weird organic growths everywhere. It's kind of why napalm would be the chosen thing. Right, and maybe it could have like some mutated Pandoran risen Advent units, but if it's only just all Pandoran, that's fine. And a Scylla Queen battle, which is a new council mission. A weakened but still dangerous Scylla Queen has been rampaging through an Advent city center. We have a chance to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, as Advent has sent out a general to try to counter the Pandoran and take them both out. Kill the Scylla Queen, kill the general, either evac or kill anything left once both targets are killed. Hey, the Scylla Queen would probably be at like 75% HP. The general would obviously be fighting it. And any Advent units in the area and any Pandoran units in the area will be going at it. Xcom will be sent in like, hey, let's cause a little bit of chaos. Kill both a Pandoran Scylla Queen and an Advent general, and kind of screw up both sides' command structures, kind of thing. Then we got some Sereps, which is Pandoran infection. This area is slowly being overrun by the Pandoran. No Scylla Queens have moved in yet, but they are still as dangerous as without her. Worm Horde, a large amount of Pandoran worms have been reproducing in this area, most likely with Chiron support. Keep an extra eye out down there. And I realized I used the wrong there. And which is essentially a lot of fucking worms, 1 or 2 of the worm artillery things, launching worms out as well. And you have a lot of fucking worms to deal with, but they can be headshot like the Lost, so remember that. And Dark Events, Rapid Infection, Unchecked Pandoran activity has allowed the virus to thrive, granting it a temporary boost to infection rates. All infections take half as many turns to kill/convert victims for a month. So essentially, if you don't counter that Dark Event, it counts as Unchecked Pandoran activity. And the Pandoran virus will take 2 turns to kill and convert Advent, Alien, and Xcom units, and only 1 turn to convert lost citizens and Psy zombies. And then the Unholy Alliance is not so much of a dark event, but another kind of intensive mechanic that you can either let activate or counter if you want to, I guess. And the Unholy Alliance is taken, of course, by my Unholy Alliance campaign, but in a different way. Instead of Exalt, it's with Advent. Regardless of both sides may think, but if the virus has gone out of hand, if Xcom and Advent keep killing each other off, without exterminating the Pandoran, there may not be an Earth left to fight over. The Advent administration and the Xcom commander have agreed to a temporary 1-month agreement to focus the Pandoran whenever they intervene. All missions where the Pandoran set rep spawns, the mission objective is overwritten to exterminate the Pandoran. All Advent, Alien, and Xcom forces are allied, quote-unquote, for the mission. They still take their separate turns, but they don't attack each other and focus the Pandoran. And Scylla battle missions are disabled for the duration. Also, that Pandoran infecting Siren has a 25% chance 25% higher chance to spawn in all missions for the duration. Right, and obviously, if the XCOM commander, which would be you in your own campaign, don't agree to this temporary 1-month agreement to focus the Pandoran whenever they intervene, you can just counter this dark event and not have it play out. So there you go. But if you do want to, focus that Pandoran and maybe not have to deal with all of your bullshit Advent and Alien modded enemies, then you can do that. Because I know I run with a lot of fucking powerful Advent and Alien mods, not being not having to deal with, exalted purge archbishops and custodians and all that stupid stuff for a month would be kind of nice. But again, bit of a stretch. I have no idea if this whole thing would even be possible. And of course, if any modders out there are interested in taking on this very very difficult modding project, let me know. Obviously, you'd have to know your way around the modding tools and how to do certain stuff in order to make this work. But if any talented modders out there are looking for a new thing to try or do during quarantine, then hey, I have a perfect playlist for you. But yeah, you can contact me on Twitter. My DMs are always open. Or you can join my Discord in the description below and we can talk there. But yeah, regardless of if anybody takes this up or not, thank you all for watching. It's good to be doing mod concepts again. I really miss doing these. They're a lot of fun regardless of what happens out of them. I just like sharing my creative process with you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoy listening to me blabble on for almost an hour long. Regardless, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out.